Hey, you. Hi. So, if you don't know me, which literally everyone watching this doesn't know who I am, anyways, if you don't know me, then you should know that I am a huge fan of Cuphead and Bendy. If it wasn't obvious from my mascot, my Twitter account, and the art I make. And these guys. Oh, these little guys. I just love them. But I should probably tell you something a little embarrassing about me. Well, not embarrassing exactly, but more of a confession. This video, yes, the one you're watching right now, has been in the works since 2021. Shocking, huh? This video has had multiple rewrites. Not because it's like an important video, I just didn't know how to write a good script at the time. Yeah, my skills have definitely improved by a long shot since then. Anyways, what's this video about? Why did this video take me like 4 years to make? Well, it's a video about why a Bendy and Cuphead crossover should happen. And why did it take 4 years? Honestly, I have no idea. I recently found out I had like ADHD when I thought I only had autism, and that just explained a whole lot of things about me. But this video isn't about my mental disorders. It's about the funny cup dude and the demon boy. So let's not waste any more time and get on with it, as people say, I guess. But before that, I'll be splitting this video into chapters, like Bendy and the Ink Machine, I guess. Chapter 1, is it possible? Chapter 2, would it work? Chapter 3, what the crossover could be like. Chapter 4, talking about the characters for a bit. Chapter 5, making fun of the people who don't want it to happen, and this is probably my favorite chapter. And Chapter 6, what I would do if I made the crossover, and if I was in charge of it. Now, with that all said and done, let's finally get into the meat and potatoes. The first chapter of this video. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. I'm writing this after I just started writing chapter 5. There are video clips of me reading over some people who don't want the crossover to happen, and I do show the usernames. And I just want to say, don't go and harass these people. I don't think them saying that stuff warrants that. Anyways, for real, let's get into the video. Now, to answer the question of, is it possible? Well, yeah, it is possible. At least on the Bendy side of things. Let me explain. So this whole thing started when the co-creator, Zero Logics, interviewed a channel called Frederator. You know, the channel that made all those 107 fact videos, and who uses AI blatantly for facts and has also stolen somebody's Assassin's Creed timeline video blatantly? Wait, what are we talking about again? Bendy and Cuphead? Alright. And unfortunately, I cannot show footage of this interview. Okay, I'm gonna put this in post-editing. I'm editing this in like the middle of the night, but I just realized while editing this part that for some reason the like PNG they use for Cuphead is like crusty, while the PNG they used for Bendy was like perfectly clean. Why? Why is Cuphead so crusty? Why? Because I know copyright is a bitch, and I'm not risking getting my ass copyrighted. However, a link will be in the description, so if you want to watch the part I'm referring to, then go ahead. But basically what Zero Logic said is, yeah, it's possible. I have a panel with some Cuphead developers. Bendy can go wherever, you know. When I first saw this video as a kid, to say I squealed is an understatement. I literally screamed at the top of my lungs, and my mom rushed in thinking I stabbed myself or something. Yeah, I had to explain to her that I was screaming over the idea of some fictional characters meeting up. Anyways, this video is the start of what I like to call the Cuphead and Bendy crossover rumors. And people all around the internet making rumors that a crossover was in the works secretly. A lot of people believe this, including me. However, these rumors weren't true. Not surprising. I mean, why would they be? Cuphead and Bendy are two different types of games. I mean, it would be stupid. This is just a one-off interview. There's nothing else, right? Right? Okay, I should stop playing around. Of course that isn't the end. More stuff has come out very recently. One tweet from 5 years ago and one tweet from only a year ago. So let's look at the one from 5 years ago. So this tweet is a response to some fan art which to my knowledge is lost media. Could be wrong though. Anyways, this tweet states that the Bendy and Cuphead devs have no rivalry, meaning it wouldn't be a situation where the Cuphead devs are forced to work on Bendy. And then there's this big tweet, the one that inspired me to actually try and finish this video. Back in 2024, where I then lost motivation. Yeah, this is a pretty big bombshell of a tweet. Fun fact, I was at school when this was tweeted, and when I first saw it, I struggled really hard not to scream in class. I know it's cringe, but as a huge fan of both of these franchises, how could I not freak out a little? And to say fans were excited is an understatement. Most of the replies and quotes are positive and in support of the crossover. Also, by the way, the death battle video isn't an official crossover. This tweet literally debunks the idea of it being official, so yeah. But overall, despite the fact the Bendy side of things has a small amount of evidence, I will say that the Bendy devs are an approval of this crossover being real, and they absolutely do want it to actually happen. But we don't know what Studio MDHR thinks. They could want it and or approve it, or they don't. We don't know. And only time will tell if they approve of it or not. But I really doubt they would disapprove of it if people really want it so bad. I mean, these people are the same people who collaborated with Arby's, so like, yeah, I don't think Studio MDHR has that high of standards.
Ooh, Arby's!
For clarity's sakes, this is a joke. I love what Studio MDHR does. Now, would the crossover work? Also, yeah, sure, they may need to change or adjust some things, but nothing major that would make the crossover not work. So, let's talk about it. Some obvious similarities is that both Bendy and Cuphead are based on the golden age of cartoons.
No, really?
And both are video games.
No, really?
But not only that, both games were made in Unity. So hypothetically, there would be no issues with learning a new game program.
But wait! There's more!
Personally, I think Cuphead and Bendy would be good friends. And using the Crack-Up comics, which, by the way, I don't think the stories here are canon to the games, but how the characters react to things are canon. For example, Bendy is a little prankster who likes to get in trouble, but he still cares for his friends. And for Cuphead, using the Cuphead show is also a bit of a prankster who likes to get in trouble. Cuphead, of course, means no actual harm, I hope at least, and he still cares about his brother Mugman. These two have a potential friend dynamic, and god damn it, I want to see it. And I will talk about this more in Chapter 4, I promise you. Meatly, if you're watching this, please let them be friends. That would be so cool. Also, thank you for watching this, Meatly, if you're actually watching this. But there are some things that may need to be changed. For example, Bendy and his friends. Sure, they do look the part, but put them near Cuphead, for example, and they look pretty off. But that's alright. Give them a slight redesign so they look similar and in the same spirit as Cuphead. But another issue is the fact that Bendy is a horror game. Now, at first that may seem concerning. How can a non-horror game and a horror game have a crossover? Well, not everything Bendy related is horror. Remember Bendy Nightmare Run? That wasn't a horror game. Plus, it could easily be explained in Bendy lore that this is an in-universe crossover. Or maybe it's just a non-horror Bendy related thing. I don't know. Overall, sure, there may need to be some changes that might need to be made, like the design stuff, but nothing too major that would make the crossover absurd or impossible to happen. I'd even say this crossover is more possible than Mario and Sonic, and yes, I am willing to go that far. Yeah, sure, Sonic and Mario are both platformers with colorful characters, but Cuphead and Bendy have a better character dynamic than Sonic and Mario will probably ever have. There, I said it. Go and wish me in the comments now. Go on, do it. I know you want to do it because you're jealous of me. Go on, do it. Do it. Do it! Hello, if you're hearing this, then that means I added a bonus chapter. Yay! Okay, but seriously, I mostly added these just because I wanted to talk more, and also I didn't know where to put them in the video, and also I didn't think they were long enough to be full-on chapters, so this chapter is going to be pretty short, probably. So, this chapter is all about if the crossover would be successful in terms of popularity and money. So, let's get into it. Also, I should give a disclaimer that I am no money expert and that the sources I'm using, in my opinion, are reliable and accurate. And if you don't think so, then that's okay. But I'm just a guy talking about a potential crossover. I'm not trying to give financial advice of any kind. So yeah, here's your bonus chapter. So let's talk about money.
LODSOVEMONE. What's that spell? Loads of money!
Or well, how much money both games made, because I feel as if that should be talked about. Can't believe I forgot to talk about that in the main video. Let's start with Cuphead stats. Cuphead has sold around 8 million copies on Steam, and now that I'm looking back on this while reading the script, that's a lot of copies. Player total is basically how many people open the game, so basically what I'm trying to say is that Cuphead was a huge success. No surprise, Cuphead's pretty popular. He has his own show after all, and a fucking Arby's collab. You greedy bastard! Actually, Cuphead's the type of person to collab with Arby's. What am I talking about? Or the Molten Howers just really like Arby's. That too. Now, let's see Bendy's stats. Well, it's not as big as Cuphead's, but it's still good. 2 million copies sold is really good for an indie game. Sure, it's millions less than Cuphead, but nowhere near a failure. It's actually very successful. And for Dark Revival, sure, it's not as much as Ink Machine, but still successful. At least successful enough to get merchandise, that's for sure. But overall, the Bendy games do have pretty good sales. Now, you may think that Bendy's stats being worse means Studio MDHR would think Bendy as lesser, but just because Bendy has low sales on Steam here doesn't mean it's not a popular franchise. I mean, look up Bendy on YouTube and look at the view counts on the Bendy related videos. That's a lot of views. Just because not a lot of people own the game doesn't mean it's not successful. A lot of indie games succeed because of YouTube, not because of the game sales. Well, they do succeed because of the game sales, but you get what I mean. A franchise doesn't need to make millions of dollars to be successful. But also, there are console and mobile sales, so that counts too. Overall, I could say that it could be very successful if given to the right people, of course. But I don't think a very highly anticipated crossover like this would be a failure. But of course, they would have to market it good, so like, yeah. Okay, now, what would this crossover be like? Clothes? Toys? Video games? Movies? A mix of all of it, or just a few? Well, I have a few ideas. Firstly, I do think there may be physical merchandise like clothes. Like, That's the easiest piece of merch to make of anything. Just slap a PNG of a character and maybe add some text to a t-shirt and boom, instant profitable merchandise. For toys, that's a, well, I don't know if it's possible kind of thing, as it takes more time to produce something like a figure or a plushie. As you need to make concepts for what the figure will look like, then you need to make prototypes of what it will look like in real life, and then you need to get approval of the owners of the IP, and if they say no to the first concept, then you gotta do it all over again. Plushies somewhat follow the same stuff, except plushies are harder to get looking right, so it takes longer. Like, try making a squared character into a plush and see how that works. Yeah, it doesn't look so good, huh? Now, video games, that's where I talk more. Sorry in advance. Now, considering both the Bendy games and the Cuphead games were made in Unity, there wouldn't be any issue with learning a new game engine. So making a game would be easier and more in line with both franchises. Like, for example, a Cuphead-styled game with Bendy would probably be more in line with Cuphead, while a Bendy-styled game with Cuphead would be more in line with Bendy. At first, it seems hard to mix these two together. It's like trying to make hot sauce mixed with peanut butter taste good. But if you think about it, it's more like mixing Nutella with peanut butter. So, how about preferring one game over the other, we try to mix them together and make them harmonize with each other. Like maybe a free roam game where you can go into both worlds with both characters with both normal and horror elements. And in the end, it will work for both franchises, as Bendy will go on a normal adventure while Cuphead goes into the depths of hell. Okay, maybe not like that, but you know what I mean. So a video game is more likely to be what would happen if this crossover was real. Okay, now let's talk about potential movies, because yes, I can, and also movies are cool. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the crossover being a movie because honestly, I want somebody to hear me out on this. So, I know most likely if we did get a crossover, we ain't getting a fucking movie. But, hear me out, if it did happen, then most likely it would be in the style of the Cuphead show, as it's the only real animated mainstream content for Cuphead, excluding the trailers and some in-game stuff. Don't know what the story would be about, but it would probably be something cool. But also, before I end this section, I again have to remind people that the Death Battle video isn't official. People only say it's official just because Rooster Teeth made it. No, people, just because Rooster Teeth made it doesn't mean it's official. That's like saying Funko is canon to the FNAF universe just because Help Wanted uses their Circus Baby plush design. Also, no, these plushies don't prove that Circus Baby had blue eyes. And I have a video coming up explaining all of that, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, now that I talked about that, honestly, I just say the crossover could be anything. Could just be some t-shirts, could be a big gamer movie, who knows? Time will only tell for what it is. Let's talk about the characters for a bit. Just a bit. Actually, I might talk about them a whole lot just because I'm that autistic. Mainly if you're watching this, I apologize in advance. So let's talk about these two dynamics, as even though they literally never met each other, their dynamics is still interesting to talk about. Now, would these guys be friendly or would they try to kill each other? Well, here's my opinion. They would actually like each other. And let's look at the evidence for that. But first, I need to read the Crack Up comics because believe it or not, I'm a Crack Up comics virgin. And I should read the comics to get an idea. And also, this is new content for me to read, so I'll be back in like an hour or so. So, like, bye.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Okay, now that I'm back, I can say that 1, I read the Crack Up comics, and 2, the comics have convinced me more that Cuphead and Bendy would be friends. Now for the Cuphead comics, I don't need to read them because 1, I've already read them, and 2, the Cuphead show in the game is good enough amount of evidence for me. With the Crack Up comics, we learned some things about Bendy. For one, he really likes pie, he is really bad at jokes, him and Boris are poor. Well, it seems Bendy got some money later on, but still at the very least Bendy was poor first. And the main thing about Bendy is that he is a little prankster. But also, although he does prank people, he's not malicious in his intentions, as he only just wants to play pranks and that's it. Sure, he did steal from a rich guy, but I mean, this guy doesn't look too nice, so I can't complain. And also, even when Bendy was given something that would allow him to cause chaos, he instead tries to help his friends out. Obviously, through these comics, we learn a lot about Bendy's character than what we knew before. Now, before making this video, I never really read these, but I did see bits and pieces on Twitter. Also, we don't really know if these are canon or not. Sure, the Mutely did say the books weren't canon recently, but does that also apply to the comics or not? Well, here's my perspective. While the comics aren't canon to the games, the characterizations are canon, which means that the character interactions here is how Bendy would actually act. Sure, Bendy still causes some chaos here and there, but that doesn't mean he's inherently evil or malicious. That's like saying later seasons Discord is evil just because he still uses his chaos magic from time to time. Just because a character is inherently chaotic or a bit of a prankster doesn't mean they're instantly evil or malicious. Just like how just because a character is sweet and wholesome doesn't mean they can't get angry or sad. Characters can have more depth, you know. If people think Bendy is evil just because he did this, means you guys have zero reading comprehension. Sorry, not sorry. Now for Cuphead, I'm like a Cuphead nerd, so talking about him is my profession. So for Cuphead, his personality is literally similar to Bendy's. They both like pranks, they both like adventures, they both like the same food. And just like Bendy, they both like money.
L-O-D-S.
No, we're not doing that joke again. We already did this joke. Come on. See, guys, I'm not crazy. Now, I don't think these two would be shouting out shit like, yeah, we're using the magic of friendship, bitch. But I think they would have a sort of, hey, bro, you want to do this? Yeah, bro. Sort of relationship. They would be very good friends. I'm not sure about the Ink Demon, though. The Meatly or Studio MDHR would have to write that. However, I do at least think normal Bendy and Cuphead would be friends. Okay, I'm editing this in, but I just have to tell you how painful it was to try and read the Crack Up comics online. Okay, so first, I had to find a copy, which wasn't too hard as I used this lovely Reddit thread, and I wanted to read it in a PDF format because in my opinion it's easier to read since I can just scroll down to read the pages. However, when I tried to read it, there were these random white pages in the middle and it was pretty stretched, so I decided to look again, which was to no avail. So I went back to that Reddit thread and I decided to read the README file because I didn't read it before because I'm an idiot. And I saw that they said that they recommended the EPUB file. And I didn't know what the fuck an EPUB file was. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna look up how to read these files. So then I googled it, and Google told me to use this Adobe thing, so I legally borrowed it, and I swear to God, the installer for it looked like it would be on a Windows XP. I'm surprised Adobe retired Flash Player before this thing. So I tried to use it, I put the file in, and at first I was like, finally I can read this. So I tried to read it, and firstly, it was in a small pixel size to the point I couldn't read it, and secondly, none of the pages would load. Sure, the chapters were there, but I couldn't fucking load them. So basically, this piece of shit wouldn't load the book. So I tried to find another software. So I searched and I found some recommendations for something called Calibre. Calibre? Is that how you say it? I don't know. So I downloaded it and finally I could read this fucking book. And it was on the left side. But that's better than it being in fucking 100 by 100 pixel size. And that's the story of the pain I went through just to try and read this comic book released in 2020. Also, white boy, if I read this out loud, just know that you have a big forehead. Okay, bye. That's it for chapter 4. Bye. Another bonus chapter, cause why not? Now this is the one where I rant for a bit about this death battle video. And before I do, I just want to say that the video animation wise is really good and I like the animation. But everything else, I don't. Now on its own, I personally don't like it, just because the video implies that Cuphead is racist. But also I think there was a bit of a Bendy bias here. Sure, Bendy may be immoral, but that doesn't mean he can't be killed. All Cuphead had to do was to show him the end and he would have won. Weird power scaling debate aside, that's not what this chapter is about. It's about the people who somehow convince themselves that this video is an official crossover. It's not, by the way! I don't know how, but like mentioned seconds ago, people somehow convinced themselves that this video was an official and endorsed as an official crossover. But guess what? It's not! And I can prove it! Firstly, this tweet by the Meatly from a year ago where he says, and I quote, "Of course I'd be thrilled and very honored to have the two of them meet." Which heavily implies that they never met. So why would the Meatly say this if this crossover was official? Did he forget? I doubt it, since the Meatly actually remembers a lot of Bendy history. I doubt he would forget something like a Cuphead crossover. And some people say this is official just because Rooster Teeth made it, which is stupid logic, because by that logic, I can say that one of Steel Wool's past games before they made Help Wanted is official just because Steel Wool made it. Dumb, right? Yeah, overall, I don't think this video was ever canon. But before I end this little bonus chapter, I'm going to be exposing one of my friends for a tiny bit. So my friend Froggy said that this video was confirmed to be non-canon, and I said, how? And I never got a reply. So Froggy, if you're watching this, I would please like it if you clarified this. Thanks. Okay, now this is one of those chapters that I want to make just because I like to make fun of people who are stupid. Stupid people are funny. Okay, anyways, if you watched any of my previous videos of reading random replies to this tweet by the Meatly in specific, which I doubt most of you watching did watch, which you don't need to go and do that to get the context, by the way, I'll just tell you. There was a handful of replies saying shit like this. But also probably trigger a relapse of Bendy Stride. I'm sorry, but I can't handle it. Beware, it could turn into a twisted thing between the fans. You don't want any more gay thing between Bendy and Cuphead. Also, if you do it, give a bit more of protagonism to Mugman. He deserves it. Please don't make Cuphead and Bendy more popular, please, I beg of you, please. Now, if you couldn't tell, a lot of these people say that Cuphead shouldn't meet Bendy because of shippers. Now, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to understand why this reason is stupid. Okay, now that I have perfectly stalled some time just for a cheap joke, I'll tell the people who don't know why this reason is stupid, why it's stupid. I think saying a crossover idea is bad just cause some people ship these two characters isn't a valid reason to not want something to happen. Now, I don't ship this. At best, it's morally gray and at worst, pedophilia. I say morally gray because we don't know how old Bendy is. But anyways, I think saying, oh, actually, I don't want to see these guys meet up and have an epic adventure just because Emily down the street drew Cuphead and Bendy kissing. Like, do you realize how stupid that sounds? That's like if I said, oh, actually, I don't think Springtrap would fit in Dead by Daylight because this one person drew Springtrap Rule 54, and I'm afraid more Springtrap Rule 54 will be made because of this DVD collab, so I don't want want it to happen. Thank you. Like, do you realize how stupid that sounds? You're telling me that you don't want something cool to happen just because you're afraid of a certain group of fans doing something because of it? In my opinion, I say don't let fan opinions and actions dictate your enjoyment of something. I mean, what are you going to do if it hypothetically turns out the ship is morally correct in canon? Are you suddenly going to switch sides and say, oh yeah, actually I guess I like this ship now that I don't have a valid reason to say it ruins something? Now, obviously, I don't think something like this will happen, but still, why would you dictate your enjoyment of something just because some dumb children do dumb children things? Because, let's be real, most people who actually ship this are just children. And I think harassing children over something like this is wrong and stupid. More stupid reasons I saw for why this crossover shouldn't happen is because, but this crossover fits better. It's stupid. But the fans did it better. It already happened. And finally, and I'm not making this up when I say this, Cuphead shouldn't cross over with games because he's too special. Now, I know this crossover wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, but like, can't people just say, hey, I don't think I'll enjoy this in my opinion, instead of being completely moronic over it? You know a franchise or franchises can have multiple crossovers? Saying it's stupid isn't an actual reason. Insulting artists and putting their work as if it's better than the source material is disrespectful. No, the Death Battle video isn't canon. I thought we were over this. Jesus Christ, I thought we were already over this. And also, Cuphead isn't special. He had a crossover with Arby's. And yeah, overall, I think blaming fandoms for your enjoyment of something is really, really dumb. Just because I'm a fan of things like Dandy's World or My Little Pony doesn't mean I support the fandom's actions. Like, I can still enjoy these things without talking to the fandom. I really enjoyed the My Little Pony show and I really like the game Dandy's World. Doesn't mean I interact with their fandoms much or support the things it does. I grew up with My Little Pony my entire childhood and I really enjoy Dandy's World as a game. Why should I suddenly stop enjoying it just because of how bad a fandom is or what they do? I'm still gonna love my childhood show and my recent favorite game I like, and I'm not gonna stop liking them just because some bad apples in a community does bad apple things. So lesson here, kiddies, is that 1, you should just admit that it's not your cup of tea and not make up shitty excuses. And you should be able to enjoy certain things without interacting with a fandom. Don't let a crappy fan base ruin your fun with something. Now, the part of the video where I tell you what I would do if I made the crossover. What would I make it? How would I write it? Etc., etc. Now, firstly, in my opinion, I think a movie would fit best. They're both animated characters, and I'm sure a streaming service like Netflix would allow for it to happen. I don't think Netflix owns the rights to the Cuphead show entirely, because, you know, Netflix doesn't own Cuphead. And also, just because I think it would show these two dynamics perfectly well. And finally, I highly doubt this would be a canon thing. Most likely, this would be a one-off non-canon crossover, which is fine by me. But with that out of the way, here's what I would do if I was allowed to write the crossover. It all started in the cycle. A certain Sammy Lawrence was doing something. What was he doing? Well, he was doing some kind of ritual. What kind? I don't know. Just imagine he's doing a satanic one because, you know, Bendy and stuff, because he's a demon. Yeah, anyways, Sammy does this and he assumes it doesn't work due to nothing happening. But little does everyone know, the ritual had started to open a portal to a different universe. What universe is that? It's Cuphead. We all know it's Cuphead. Come on. You know what video you clicked on. Come on. What else would it be? FNAF? No, get out of here. I'm kidding. You can stay. So yeah, you can blame Sammy for getting Cuphead and Bendy to meet up. But it didn't start opening immediately. It grew bigger over time. until it became too big and sucked everyone in the cycle. Okay, everyone is an overstatement, more like the important characters, just an FYI, but regardless, they got sucked in, and Bendy was first since he literally lives right next to where the portal was, so like, yeah. But now we cut to Cuphead and Mugman. They're walking down the sidewalk, talking to each other. Cuphead talks about how he wishes he had a cool and powerful friend. A friend that's talented and who can help him protect him from the devil. Ignore the fact that Chalice exists. I didn't think about that when writing this, because I wrote this in the middle of the night, so like, yeah. But then after he says that, he gets hit, and it was from Bendy, obviously. And after getting hit, Cuphead gets up and he sees Bendy, and Cuphead's eyes go big as he assumes his wish came true. But he notices that he seems to be knocked out. Well, Bendy's knocked out. So he tries to wake him up and he succeeds. Bendy sees Cuphead and gets scared, asking where he is. Cuphead is confused but explains that he's an inkwell. Bendy gets scared that others are causing havoc. Cuphead is more confused. Bendy explains that his peers are chaotic and could destroy something important, and he needs to get them all so they can go back home. Cuphead and Mugman talk for a bit but realize they should help out Bendy, so they agree to help out Bendy. They sneak Bendy back home and have a sleepover because what else are they supposed to do? The next day they go out to try and find everybody. And they find everybody and they don't want to leave Inkwell because why would they want to go back? Meanwhile, the devil notices the abnormal energy of the new characters. That's when he learns about the cycle, and more importantly, the ink machine. So while the trio tries to convince the others to go back into the cycle, the devil sneaks in there and steals the ink machine, which he proceeds to go into and turn into a giant ink monster. The devil, now an ink monster, transforms the entire town into something akin to that one city level in Dark Revival. Every Inkwell character has been transformed, the environment is now yellow and black, and the only characters not affected are Cuphead, Mugman, and Chalice and Bendy. Also, if you're wondering where she was, earlier I explained that I didn't, write her in because I'm lazy, but just imagine she was fighting somebody, so, yeah. And also, I need to finish this video before Lone Wolf releases, because, reasons, you'll understand. Anyways. After the others realize this, they decide that they need to work together to stop the devil. They try to attack him normally, but to no avail. Eventually, Bendy realizes that the devil might have stolen his ink machine, and they go to look for it. They all go to the devil's lair and find it, and it's still churning out ink. Cuphead suggests destroying it, but Bendy explains that if they do destroy it, then all the ink inside would flood Inkwell and potentially the entire universe. So they need to come up with a better plan. Bendy then gets the idea to transform themselves so they can get the strength to beat the devil. The Cup trio are reluctant, but Bendy reassures them that he can turn them back. They all climb up it, and Bendy goes in first, and he turns into the Ink Demon. Because we need Ink Demon rep in the movie. Yeah. Then Mugman and Chalice go in and they come out all inked up and stuff. Cuphead is the only one left as he is too scared to jump in. Cuphead tries to back out, but Bendy gives him the motivation to go in. Cuphead swallows and jumps in holding his nose. Nothing happens for a moment and everyone thinks he died. But the machine mechanism starts getting really loud and really heavy as tons of ink starts to spill out. Massive arms start to come out. Eventually Cuphead comes out revealing that he is huge like the devil. This is because Cuphead is the main character, obviously. They go out and they beat up the devil. They fight for a while until they finally defeat him. The world goes back to normal and the group also turns back to normal for reasons. The Bendy characters realize that they should probably go back home since it's safer that way, but before Bendy leaves, Bendy and Cuphead share a hug, and Bendy promises they might meet sometime in the future before he leaves with the ink machine. The end. And I did all of that unscripted. Yeah, I wrote a script for it, but I wanted to see if I could do it in one take. So, yeah, that was me doing all of that in one entire take. With some cuts in it, obviously, because that would be bad. You would not enjoy that. But yeah, that's the story I made. Entirely unscripted. By the way, I read that in one take. So yeah, tell me how good I did in the comments. Now, I know this isn't the best story, and obviously it would last longer with tons of dialogue, but I just got the main premise out. I went with a more character-focused story rather than a story-focused story. Obviously, I doubt if this was a real story would be exactly like this, but that's why it's a concept, my friends. But of course, if you do want to criticize this and give me feedback, then that would be greatly appreciated. Just don't be a dick about it. Also, I know I keep saying this, but Meatly, if you're watching this, how was it? Was it good? Does it need work? Let me know. I'm not a perfect writer, so actual constructive criticism is accepted. Well, what's the conclusion? What is the takeaway of this entire video? Well, in my personal opinion, I really think this crossover could work out, if it is in the right hands, of course. It's honestly quite surprising that it hasn't happened yet. But the people who say it shouldn't happen just say it because of a fictional ship. Is it cringe? Yeah, it is. Is it potentially illegal? Probably. But just because of that, I don't think that's enough to say that this crossover shouldn't happen. A few bad apples shouldn't hinder your want or enjoyment or something. And honestly, even if it doesn't happen, then I hope this video at least shows why it could have worked out so well. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you liked it, then leave a like. And hey, if you liked my stupid banter or you simply want to see more, then you can subscribe. Follow me in my socials of the description, blah blah blah. Also, I want to give a special thanks to my friend Jack, or Funny White Boy, for giving me the encouragement to finish this video. He was going to edit some of them, but he got really busy, so I just decided to edit it myself. And also, for genuinely being cool. Also, I apologize for calling your forehead big. Anyways, that's all from me. I'm Charles, and you watched the Chartoons video.
I didn't freak out like that again until Big Pun died.